fresh water systems are fundamental to Australia's first people, who have nurtured a deep understanding of water flow across the landscape. There is a growing recognition of this ancient connection. My name is Jack Buckskin. Join me as I discover how my people found and managed fresh water on the driest continent on Earth.
Ngarrindjeri. At the bottom of the Murray River lies the lower lakes, the Coorong and the Murray mouth, all home to the Ngarrindjeri people.
They knew the seasons of things and the areas to go to. Anything that was edible from the waters or around the waters, that's what they lived off of. You only went and got what you needed and what you could share with community.
I caught up with local Ngarrindjeri man Clyde Rigney Jr. on the banks of the Murray. He's passionate about his culture and extensive relationship his people have with water.
Hey Clyde.
Brother Jack, good to see you, brother.
Thanks for having me down here.
Too deadly.
What does the river bring for Ngarrindjeri people?
So Marundi, that's a Ngarrindjeri word for the river. Marundi is the lifeblood of the Ngarrindjeri people. This is still our identity. We are water people. Every Ngarrindjeri person that you talk to will talk about at some point interacting with the river, interacting with the lake, or interacting with the Coorong, or interacting with the coast. And so all of our creation stories, all of our stories that say who we are as a people, talk about the importance of living with the lands and waters that have been given to us, our Yala Rui. That's in Ngarrindjeri, Yala Rui means sea country. The skills and ability of Ngarrindjeri to be able to live with our natural environment and make tools and resources from it to be able to sustain our lifestyle was imperative. There was an abundance of resources to be able to live. Clean water, fish, water birds, eggs, rushes, all the natural resources that were needed to live a good life. Those natural resources became a very, very important trading tool for Ngarrindjeri people.
Can you tell us some of the innovations around fishing, canoes, things that were unique for Ngarrindjeri?
Yeah, absolutely. Thousands of years ago, what Ngarrindjeri would do is make a fire in the middle of the yuki, but it had like a clay base so it wouldn't burn through the canoe. And then the ashes of that fire would actually shine bright and would attract fish to the surface and make fishing with a spear a lot easier. I think we're really blessed as Ngarrindjeri because we've got people like Uncle Moogie Sumner. He's been down to the southeast and carved out a big canoe out of a tree down there. We should still be teaching that to our young people and capitalise on the fact that that elder with that knowledge still exists.
Betty Sumner is a Ngarrindjeri woman from Rauken, an artist, singer, weaver and anthropologist. She too is passionate about the sharing of knowledge with future generations.
All of our culture came from the lakes and the rivers because we had to learn all about the lakes and the rivers to live here. You taught the weaving from a young age. It's a social thing. All the women would be sitting around weaving, doing their weave. We were renowned for our baskets.
You remember watching the old women do it? Is it just a women's thing?
It's a man's occupation as well. He made his own bag to keep all of his medicines or tips from spears. They had to use that same knot there, see?
So what's that actually made out of?
That's a sedge grass. Ngarrindjeri word is lakan.
What are some of the traditional stuff that would have been made from these grasses?
Well, they would have made funeral baskets, also for babies, carrying babies on the back. They made a lot of mats, windbreak as well, which was important for houses and that. They wove a big fish trap, looked like a witch's hat. They put it in the water around rocks and the fish would swim through that and because they couldn't swim back. The bulrush is different, but there's like a bulb that grows with it. They steamed that bulb and then the women and the children, they chewed it and then the men would come along and they'd make the string to make the nets to get the fish.
And here it is. So I didn't chew it, but you can see that it's come pretty stringy, and then the men would then use that string to make their nets.
They would have caught a lot of fish. I remember when I was young, we used to go throwing the nets out down the Coorong there, and we'd be just pulling all the nets and pulling all the fish in. Oh, it was just amazing.
The Ngarrindjeri are a highly organised and structured society. When the early settlers arrived, they observed them to have a centrally administered government that represented 18 independent territories. Thanks for having us down here on your country. Can you tell us a little bit about where we're standing at the moment?
We can see from here all of our land. We can identify where people come from that meet down here at Ngarrindjeri, and that's where Tendi would take place. We would call that governance today. Ngarrindjeri would speak about the issues for all Ngarrindjeri people. Our land, our language, our law, our stories, our kinship, and how we look at Rui, our land and water, and how we are connected to it, and how we need to live in alignment with it, in balance with it. Then that's how we can grow.
What are the main sources of fresh water for Ngarrindjeri?
Coorong, lakes, freshwater soaks, wetlands, river, lots of water resources and different ways of using it. The soak's been here for as long as we can remember. They were right along the Coorong. Soaks like this is so important for drinking water. They're all connected. Fresh water was always available.
The you'd mob are big for canoes.
It was always, kaiki, small canoes. They just made sense. You'd never be in deep water. You can fish in the lake, in the river, in the sea. We would net ducks, net swans, swan eggs. We have Cape Barren geese come here from Tasmania, and that's a wonderful meal. Wangami, kangaroo, we lacked for nothing in our history. It's all around seasons and timing, so you have to understand your food sources. How do you do that? It's communicated to you. Who communicates it? Elders tell you about what's what, when it happens, and how we should behave with it. And ultimately, that will help us to sustain ourselves. And so they're wonderful stories, all in connection, all in balance. How we look after it and how we manage this is going to be really important to the future. And we want to be good managers of our land, that's our cultural responsibility.
I want to thank the Ngarrindjeri people for sharing their passion and knowledge of how to live in balance with our land and water.